Over the past couple years, the internet has adopted a genre of movies deemed literally me movies. Literally me being defined as a character that tragically relates to the viewer. All the memes and internet culture surrounding it are plastered with sarcasm and irony, but if you're to dig just a bit deeper, you'll notice something. Throughout the several literally me movies I've watched, I've noticed a certain pattern. A pattern that explains the obsession, a pattern that explains the desire, and a pattern that explains the psychology of literally me characters. Narrator lives a life similar to most, stuck in the rat race, a victim to consumerism due to his addiction of buying IKEA furniture, a victim to monotony shown by his 9-to-5 office job. He meets a man named Tyler Durdan on a business flight. He's self-assured, good-looking, and charismatic. Narrator comes home to find out his apartment was blown up. He's lost his comfort and routine. He's plummeting towards rock bottom, and narrator turns to none other than Tyler Durdan. Tyler is shown to be quite a devious soul, pissing in food at restaurants, putting weenies in movies at theaters, and just being an overall violent person. They form a fight club where dozens of men come to beat the shit out of each other. And why? To rekindle that masculine energy lost by being a wage slave.
God damn it, an entire generation pumping gas, waiting tables. Slaves with white collars.
Tyler obviously represents that rebellious nature in everyone. He represents those intrusive thoughts we'd never dare act on. Speaking of intrusive thoughts, Patrick Bateman is your average 80s yuppie. He's in amazing shape, has a high-paying job on Wall Street, pulls women easily, at least according to him, has a top-tier skin routine, and finally, has extreme homicidal tendencies. American Psycho portrays Patrick Bateman as a man in disguise per se. His entire life is dedicated to fitting in with the elite suit-wearing men around him.
Because I want to fit in.
He enjoys dining at various expensive restaurants and loves the work of Huey Lewis and the News, Whitney Houston, and Phil Collins. However, he bases his opinion off reviews from others rather than having any thoughts of his own. He keeps up to date with the current media, making sure to read the latest magazines in order to always know what's trending and popular. It becomes apparent by the end of the film that Bateman doesn't care for the people around him. In fact, he despises them. The constant act of trying to fit in with people he hates distorts him into madness, hence the grotesque various murders. Also apparent by the end of the movie, the killing may all be in his head. But does it really matter? The movie's message remains the same either way. The modern way of rampant trends, narcissism, and consumerism lead to a lack of individualism, hence Bateman's copy and paste personality. The only way he can separate himself from this and feel something is by brutally murdering someone. But there is another way to look at this. The people around Bateman are so caught up in themselves that they fail to notice that this dude next to them is an absolute psychopath. His lawyer thinks his admission of guilt is some joke. All of them lack so much individualism that they don't notice when one of them goes missing. Kind of like if a few bees left the beehive or a couple ants from the anthill. What's kind of funny is that I don't think most people who watch American Psycho understand the message and satire that's being portrayed. They see this fit, charismatic, and edgy dude and they're like, that's literally me. Arthur Fleck lives the life of what you'd expect in a lower income household. He has a job, a humble apartment, a mother, all of which make him feel like he's a functioning member of society. He's not got the best life, but it could be worse. He struggles to live his dream of, becoming a stand-up comedian. He meets a girl from his apartment complex who he builds a strong relationship with. But spoiler alert, it all comes crumbling down when he realizes it was all fantasy in his head. He loses his job, the one meaningful thing he really had. He descends into madness, shooting 3 people on a subway after they harass some lady and start beating the shit out of him. Honestly, they kind of deserved it. He gets onto his favorite media star Murray's talk show for this act.
How about another joke, Murray?
No, I think we've had enough of your jokes.
What do you get
I don't think so.
when you cross
I think
a
we're
mentally
done
ill
with your
loner
jokes.
with
That's
a
it.
society that abandons him and treats him like trash?
Call the police,
I'll
Gene.
tell you what you get.
Call the police.
You get what you fucking deserve.
And proceeds to blow his brains out. By the end of the movie, he's an inspiration to Gotham, leading revolt against society, politics, and media. Once again, a mentally ill murderer corrupted by the means of society, trying too hard to fit in. Anyhow, like mentioned earlier, there's a pattern to all these literally me movies. Let's start out chronologically. Fight Club. A man living a seemingly normal but complacent life loses everything, leading him to live a more masculine life. American Psycho. A man living the average yuppie life begins to lose himself, leading him to see the meaninglessness of modern behavior. Now, The Joker. A man living an average lower income life is bullied by society, leading him to fight back, causing a revolt against media, politics, and corruption. All these stories start out with men living normal lives per se, followed by the loss of something, whether that be an apartment, themselves, or their tolerance. This loss leads them to fight back, or simply see the corruptions of the world. And why does this pattern matter? I mean, it doesn't. Nothing really matters. We're all gonna die someday. The pattern is obviously, relatable per se. For example, little Jimmy has a girlfriend. It's going great until one day she's like, "You're ugly, we're done." Jimmy loses this girl. This causes him to do two things: become an incel, or see the corruptions of the relationship as well as modern dating in general. On a large scale, it's pretty simple. The worlds portrayed in these movies are obvious reflections of our real world. Fight Club's consumer and feministic society, American Psycho's individually void society, and The Joker's corrupted, media-ran society. The directors made these movies with the message in mind, and it certainly works, as after watching any of these literally me movies, you're left with this feeling of redemption of sorts. That's why the idea of a Fight Club sounds so appealing. It's a chance to fight back against the constraint ways of society and the constraint ways of your mind caused by it. As much as we all want to shoot Murray or join a fight club, it's not plausible. And that's where the movie part of the movie is. Honestly, the next best thing to do is, reject the pleasures of the world and become the most pristine and beautiful creature on this earth. Anyways, pretty dramatic video here. All these movies are amazing, even without the relatability factor. Say we didn't live in a world where it relates with it, they would still be amazing. Their plots are good. Hit like if it's cumlicious. If it's not, I'm sorry. And I got a second channel. Go check it out. I actually do. I'm going to be posting more on there than I post on here. So